Hi, it's Paul. I wanted to give you just a reason why PossiDude, at least for me. I had an experience several years ago. Anyway, this one experience that I had was a gal that mentioned in casual conversation, her and her husband were like two live wires. They shorted each other out. And what she didn't know at the time, I had been studying electricity. So it kind of meant a little bit more to me than probably anybody else that heard it. People laughed and thought, yeah, that's funny. I understand how that works, but uh, I understood it from another level. I was looking at what electricity is and how it operates, and I began to see that she was talking about her experience of her life and what it felt like, and everybody can relate to it. But I looked at it and I thought, well, what does that mean? What is electricity? And I began to look at it, and you don't have to know much about electricity to understand that in electricity, you have to have a connection back to the source. They call it a neutral or a common. It's a connection back to the source. I'm calling that PossiDude in this case. PossiDude is my connection to who I am. It's a connection back to the source of all the energy there is. And so if I don't have that good solid connection back, that's when my problems occur. That's when shorts occur, light bulbs burn out, fires can happen, all the troubles in the world can happen if I'm not connected to the source, if I don't have that good solid common. And so I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I began to recognize, oh, that's a truth that works in electricity and it works in my personal life. And it began to open me up to these ideas of that there's principles that operate that throughout the universe. And so I touched this one, and I started to think about what are relationships like? Well, everybody knows the house voltage is 110, 120, and if you put two together, like your dryer, you have 220. It runs more efficiently. It can do more things. But if either one of those 120 lines, when you put them together, is not connected to the source, it shorts out both of them, and you have major problems. It can burn. One of them can burn both of them out. So I saw that in my own life, and I recognized what she was talking about in her life. That the feeling is that they're just kind of shorting each other out. Well, there wasn't a common connection to the source. So I took that a little bit, and over the years I've studied in my individual life work, and I've come to these understandings that these principles that operate, they all start with that connection to the source, and I got to get back to the source. And I began to look at what that source was, and of course we all have our own spiritual journeys and things that we study to help us, but I began to look at this from just positive. What if just my connection to my source? Let's go beyond the words and go right back to the source. And why don't I just connect to that source and ask that source for the direction of my life and whatever I'm doing? And as I begin to do that, I recognize that answer is always there. That I can, if I'm quiet enough, and if I stop my mind from all the things it's thinking about and become quiet and become willing, that source will direct my thinking the way it needs to be. Everything that unfolds in front of me. Very little effort on my part. And I'm thinking if I can do this in my life, and we can begin to identify these truths that operate all the time, that when I'm kind and loving, I feel better. Maybe the other person doesn't even appreciate it, but I feel better. When I practice these basic values, human values and character traits that are inherent in PossiDude, they're naturally who I am. When I align myself with those things, I feel better, and I have a better life, and people seem to like me better. And so how do I do that? Now, you have your own studies that you're doing. You can incorporate that in this. It works perfectly, because the truth is always true, no matter who says it. And like my friend always tells me, the truth is the truth, even when a liar says it. So it's kind of this idea that maybe we can save our kids some time. Instead of trying to go to negadude, our mind that's filled with information, and figure out what the world's about, why not go right back to the source? And ask that source for direction. And begin to trust in that. The more we trust in that, the more our life unfolds, and the more wonders that I see in the world, and life becomes the adventure that I always thought it would be. Regardless of the outside circumstances. It doesn't require money or any particular information that I need to have, or education, or none of that's important. The only connection that I need to connect is with PossiDude. And when I build on that relationship, and I trust in that relationship, my life unfolds. And I have the life I always wanted. And I actually become the superhero in my own life. And this is what I'm trying to give to kids. And we're doing that by identifying Simple little things that we do each and every day, all of us do, that we hold the door for somebody. It feels good. I feel better. That we let somebody in on the freeway. And I notice that when I don't let them in on the freeway, what happens? I have a rough day. When I don't be the person I was always meant to be, I have a rough day. So I'm hoping that my computer just went down. I hope it didn't black out on you. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Just these principles and why PossiDude and why it's probably the most important thing in our lives. And I hope you'll help us out by sharing your experience on the blog and please put some posts on there and comments. We'd love to hear your experience, regardless of what background you come from or what religious affiliation you might have. It's people need to hear that. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll join us.